Hello and welcome to this Astranti strategic analysis video for the operational level case study, May and August 2021. So in this video, we're going to be looking at our pre-seen company strategy, and hopefully by better understanding the company's strategic position, you'll be able to contextualize your answers and also the judgments and suggestions you give in your exam. So before we get into the strategic analysis itself, let's first of all give a quick recap about our case study company. So for this sitting, our case study company is the car rental company Acellerate. So Acellerate is the leading car rental company in Everland, a fictional company in Western Europe. So as the leading car rental company, it has many sales locations throughout this fictional country. However, it doesn't yet have any operations internationally. It's currently restricted to just Everland. In terms of the market segment that it primarily targets, it goes for the business and premium leisure segments. And because it does target this premium segment of the market, it does charge higher rental fees than other value brands operating in the same country. There was a global recession in 2020 in the context of the pre-scene, and as a consequence of this recession, Acellerate was forced to close many of its sales locations, and it also made a loss in this year, despite having been profitable the year before. However, it does seem to have survived the worst effects of the recession according to the pre-scene, and according to the introduction of the pre-scene, its senior management believe that it's in a strong financial position to develop going forward. So now that we have this recap of our case study company, let's now give a quick talk about the strategic analysis that we'll be performing in this video. So in order to perform this strategic analysis, I'm going to be using something called the rational planning model. Now this isn't something that you actually need to know about for your case study exam. It does come up in higher level papers. However, nonetheless, it'll still be a very useful tool for us to use to actually analyse the company's strategy, as it will be very comprehensive and it should give us quite a detailed understanding of its strategic position. So to do this, we start by considering where it is the company wants to be in the future. Where does the organisation want to end up? After having identified where the organisation wants to be, we can then do an analysis of where the organisation is now. So based on looking at the organisation's current position and its desired future position, we can then work out how to navigate from point A to point B, and the way which we want to navigate is going to be our business's strategy. So in terms of the company's future position, we can break this down from a number of key perspectives. So first of all, we can look at the company's mission, its objectives and its approach to performance measurement, its critical success factors, an analysis of the varying levels of interest and power of its different stakeholder groups, its approach to corporate governance, and also its standpoint in terms of ethics and overall corporate responsibility. Then we'll look at where the organisation is now. That is its marketing mix, a pastel analysis, a look at the way it generates value, looking at Porter's value chain, and then lastly via a SWOT analysis. So once we've identified where it seems like Acellerate wants to be headed and where it currently is, we can then consider its business strategy and what its strategy might be or should be going forward. So this will be the overall structure of this video, and as you can see, this will be the overall structure of this video. So let's get started by considering the company's mission. So when it comes to where the organisation wants to be in the future, perhaps the most important overriding concern is that organisation's mission. So the organisation's mission is a clearly outlined statement or set of statements that describe what the organisation at the end of the day is actually all about. Why does this organisation exist? Who does it exist for? And what's it actually trying to achieve in the world? So by actually having a mission, you can provide all the people within the organisation with a common purpose. So when it comes to setting new elements of the company's strategy, new objectives, and so on, we can think back to the company's mission and decide whether those objectives or strategic changes actually, in both the short and the long term, help the organisation to move towards achieving this mission. In contrast, if we don't have a mission, then we don't really have any idea where we're going at all. And this will likely lead to a lot of confusion and just an overall lack of focus. So we of course want to avoid this by having an effective mission. So Campbell set out 4 different components of a good company mission. So let's consider how Acellerate might answer Campbell's questions to come up with a mission of its own. So the first question is to do with the organisation's purpose. Why does the organisation exist? For whom does it exist? And what does it hope to achieve in the long term? So thinking back to our pre-seen company, we can ask the first two sets of questions. Well, the organisation exists to provide car rentals, and specifically high-quality car rentals. Remember, it serves the premium leisure and business segments of the market, and these are the people for whom the company exists. Business people and people on holiday who are looking to spend a bit more to get a slightly better experience. In terms of what Acellerate hopes to achieve in the long term, well, the pre-seen actually sets out some of the strategic objectives of the company. So first of all, it wants to expand, and it wants to expand both by entering new markets and also by expanding its existing range of services. So in addition to this expansion, it also wants to improve its use of digital technologies, and it wants to use these improved digital technologies to improve its profit margins by cutting costs, by developing efficiencies, and so on. So this is what the organisation hopes to achieve in the long term. So as we can see, it does have a clearly defined purpose that we can infer based on the pre-seen. So moving on, Campbell's next question relates to the company strategy. So with regards to the company's strategy, remember again that it has this premium focus. Its strategy in terms of wanting to compete in terms of having a competitive edge is by providing a better service than the available alternatives and then charging more because customers will pay more again to have this better service. On top of this premium focus, we're also told in the pre-seen that it has very effective IT systems for managing its fleet of rental vehicles, so it can do things like move cars around according to level of demand, set prices, and so on. Lastly, we're told that it does in fact have a good quality of service, so it aims to have high quality service, but it is, as we can infer from the pre-seen, has been successful at providing this high quality service. It's the leading car rental provider in the country, and it's a premium provider, so from this we can come to the conclusion that it is indeed being successful in providing a good quality car rental offering. So moving on to the next question is to do with the organisation's values, what it actually stands for. So coming back to the point that I keep going on about at the moment, is this value of quality. It's a quality-based brand and not, for instance, a value-based brand. It's not aiming to provide, say, the lowest prices on the market. Additionally, it does have this value that we can infer from the pre-seen of IT-related innovation. We're told that its fleet management IT system was groundbreaking, so this kind of implies that it is looking to push forward and benefit from the use of these digital technologies. We also know that the company has placed an emphasis on growth. This is important to the organisation as it's looking to expand in two different directions, by entering new markets and also by providing new services. So clearly growth is going to be very important to the company in the coming years. And then lastly, there is staff development. We know from the pre-seen that it offers an apprenticeship to its maintenance technicians and also training for its customer service staff. So clearly it believes that its staff are important, and in fact this is stated explicitly in terms of the HR manager's profile given in the pre-seen. So the final aspect of an effective mission is to do with the company's policies, that is the ways we ensure people act according to the company's defined values, strategy and purpose. So in terms of Accelerate's policies, we're actually not given all that much information in the pre-seen. However, what we do know is that customer service staff are empowered to solve customer issues as they deem necessary. And again, on top of this empowerment, we have the policies relating to ensuring staff have the relevant knowledge and training, that is the policies of providing these apprenticeships and these training programs for the customer service staff. Beyond this, however, we're not given a huge amount of detail about the company's policies. So from this assessment, we can see that Accelerate's mission, based on the information given to us in the pre-seen, could be pretty strong on the basis of its purpose, its strategy and its values. We have a relatively clear idea of what these might be, and they do seem relatively solid. What we're less sure on is the company's policies. In any case, from the statements highlighted in red, we can start to build what looks like a relatively clearly defined mission statement for Accelerate. So now that we've considered Accelerate's potential mission, let's now think about its objectives and the way it measures its performance. So in general, a company does need to have objectives set, as this will give it a focused target to move towards on the way to achieving its overall desired future position. Without defined objectives, it's going to be difficult or almost impossible to measure performance effectively. And on top of this, if we have a focused target, it will help to motivate staff. Staff know what it is they're trying to accomplish, and also if their performance is being measured, how well they're actually doing at accomplishing their goal. So when it comes to Acellerate, what might its objectives be? Well, luckily for us, the pre-scene actually gives us a few specific targets the company has in mind going forward. So the first are to do with the company's growth. Again, it wants to expand, and specifically it wants to expand in two different ways. The first is by expansion into new markets, and the second is by expanding its range of available services. In addition to these growth-related goals, it also wants to improve its margins through the use of digital technologies, and it wants to do this in a number of ways. To quote directly from the pre-scene, it wants to improve its asset utilization and also achieve fleet cost efficiencies through fleet planning initiatives. So this is to do with the way the company handles the rental cars in its fleet, for instance ensuring that it has an appropriate number of cars in its fleet relative to the demand in the market. Additionally, it wants to improve its methods for car disposal. That is, once it wants to sell its vehicles on, having reached the end of their sort of rental life, it wants to sell them to consumers. So it wants to get better at doing this, for instance through car sales online. This would be an instance of using digital technologies to achieve this. Lastly, it wants to control costs and increase efficiencies in general through process improvements. So perhaps one way it could do this could be through further automation of finance-related processes, just as an example. So these are the company's targets, but what about its performance measurement? Well, we're actually given a table of the company's key performance indicators in the pre-scene. For instance, we're given the operating profit margin from the years 2018 to 2020 and also the budgeted figure for 2021. So in terms of its success in improving its margins through the use of digital technologies, this can be assessed via the look at the company's overall operating profit margin. We also know that total sales revenue is another key performance indicator, so this could be indicative of the company's success in growing. Of course, the greater the growth, the greater the company's revenue will be. In terms of adding new services, while some manufacturing companies, as an example, actually have the number of new products brought to market as a key performance indicator. So Acellerate could in the future look to do a similar thing just by having the number of new services added in a given period as a key performance indicator to monitor its success in bringing new services to market. However, for the moment it doesn't have a specific KPI relating to the addition of new services. So these are some things we can infer from the pre-scene. However, it is important to note that the company is likely to have additional specific strategic targets that we don't yet know about. However, if we're told in the exam itself, that is in the unseen, that the company does not have specific strategic targets, then this will constitute a weakness on the part of Acellerate in terms of its planning approach. As again, we need to have specific targets to motivate ourselves and focus our overall direction for the company going forward. So be aware of this as well. So let's move on to the next part of this strategic analysis, where we'll consider the critical success factors for Acellerate. But before we do, a quick recap on what a critical success factor actually is. Well, these are the things that the organisation must do well in order for it to succeed, so as the name suggests, they are critical to its success. So now in terms of the long term and the company's future, it needs to make sure that it identifies its critical success factors and make sure that it maintains them, develops them and improves them to make sure that they continue to be strengths of the organisation going forward. Now with regards to your case study exam, you need to make sure that if any new strategies are recommended, that you need to consider these new strategies in relation to the organisation's critical success factors. If it seems as though the new strategy actually supports the organisation's critical success factors, then this should be a strategy you should support. Meanwhile, if the strategy seems to contradict or undermine the critical success factors, then you actually need to question whether that strategy will be appropriate for the company. As again, it's vital that the organisation continues to develop and improve these critical success factors. So a good way to analyse the appropriateness of suggested strategies in your exam. Now, when it comes to Acellerate, what might be this organisation's critical success factors? Well, I've come up with a list here, by no means exhaustive, but things that we can infer from the pre-scene. So I'll go through each of them and give you a brief justification. So the first critical success factor I've identified for the company is its fleet management and maintenance. As of course it has a large fleet of rental vehicles, so it needs to make sure that first of all, it manages them in the most effective and efficient way. and we know from the pre-scene that it does have a highly sophisticated IT system to help it to do this. So thanks to this IT system, it can do things like, quoting from the pre-scene here, optimize its fleet plan. So that is to do with the way it acquires and then disposes of the rental vehicles. If it's able to do this, for instance, in a way that means it can get its vehicles as cheaply as possible and then dispose of them for the best price possible, then this of course is going to help the company to boost its margins. Additionally, maintenance will be key to ensure the reliability of the vehicles and also their safety. So as a car rental operator, again, this is going to be vitally important. So making sure the fleet is appropriately managed and maintained will be critical for Acellerate success. So moving on, we also have the issue of appropriate pricing. So we know that Acellerate is targeting the premium segments of the market, and as such does charge higher rental fees than some value competitors. However, nonetheless, it still needs to make sure that these fees are appropriate. How much more would it be appropriate for the company to charge for a rental than others in the market? How much more would customers be willing to pay for this more premium service? Now, we are told in the pre-scene that the company does adjust its prices, for instance, to do with the length of the rental period as well as the level of customer demand. So by adjusting prices in this way, it can ensure that it captures as much of the market share as possible. Now, considering the rise of things like price comparison websites and other intermediaries, price is a key concern in the car rental industry, and as such, it's vital that the company continues to price its services appropriately going forward. Next up is customer satisfaction, and we can actually link this back to the issue of appropriate pricing. That is, bearing in mind that Acellerate is going to be charging slightly higher prices, while it needs to make sure that it delivers on this more premium service. So it does monitor its customer satisfaction in a number of ways, such as surveys, as we can tell from the pre-scene. And it's vital that it continues to do this and also addresses any issues it does identify in terms of customer satisfaction. There's no excuse for not having very high customer satisfaction if you are charging these premium prices. There's also the issue of car safety and quality. So when it comes to car safety, I already touched upon this in the context of maintenance. The company, of course, has an ethical and potentially legal responsibility to ensure that the customers who rent its cars out aren't put at excessive levels of risk. Additionally, there's the issue of the car's quality. So again, targeting the premium segments of the market, so it wants to ensure that it continues to provide high quality vehicles. So one way it could do this would be to look at its acquisitions. So for instance, talking with people working for the car manufacturers, identifying which makes and which models of cars seem to be the best, the most reliable, and so on in a given year. Additionally, there's the importance of skilled and experienced staff members. This, of course, is going to be key in pretty much every company out there. So of particular concern for Acellerate are first of all quite likely to be its maintenance technicians. It has a large number of maintenance centres throughout Everland, and these people working in these maintenance centres, of course, are going to be responsible for the upkeep of the company's vehicles. So the better these maintenance technicians are, then effectively these repairs and maintenance related work and inspections and so on can be carried out. Obviously of great importance to the company, as I've already mentioned. Additionally, given the importance of the company's fleet management system, its IT staff are also going to be vitally important, particularly because, as we've mentioned, the company's aiming to improve its margins through the use of digital technologies. So the better its IT staff are, the better placed the company will be to actually achieve this. So in general, the company needs to ensure that it attracts talented employees, trains them up, and also retains them. Additionally, there's the importance of the company maintaining its reputation. Again, important for nearly all companies, but particularly because the company is operating a brand targeted at the premium sector of the industry. So if the company's reputation were to fall, if its reputation were to be damaged in some way, then customers simply would be less willing to pay the higher rental fees that the company charges. Meanwhile, if it were a value brand, for instance, potentially this could be less important. After all, customers who are wanting to just save money would want to go for the cheaper service, even if it didn't have necessarily the best reputation. Acellerate, of course, can't get away with this, and therefore it needs to ensure that it maintains its reputation for quality. Lastly, we have the issue of maintaining IT infrastructure. So remember, we've highlighted the fact that it has this we've highlighted the fact that the company has this highly effective fleet management system, and we're told in the pre-scene that this is a centralized system. That means the various IT systems set up around Everland at its various different locations do link together. So because of this, if this system were to be disrupted in some way, this would have large consequences for the organisation as a whole. It could potentially affect the company's ability to place bookings or modify bookings, to make pricing decisions, and so on. So the more it can mitigate the risk of damage to the IT system occurring, for instance through cyber attacks and other cybersecurity related incidents, then the better placed the company will be. So these are 7 factors that the company's strategies going forward will need to support. Again, if a strategy is suggested in the exam in the unseen that seems to contradict or undermine the company's performance according to any of these critical success factors, then it might well be a strategy that you need to question. So moving on with our strategic analysis, let's now take a look at the next section where we look at the company's different stakeholder groups. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you found it useful. I'd just like to take a moment to talk about some of the different case study products we offer here at Astranti. All of these products are available together as a package as part of our case study course. However, they can also be purchased individually. So we have our exam technique series, which comprises both a study text and a video series. So in this product, we'll teach you how to plan your answers, analyse the case study material, and manage your time in the exam. So all of these are vital skills that you need to have to make sure you don't miss out on any marks. We also have our theory revision series, which again is both a study text and a series of videos. So these talk about specific theories relevant to your case study exam. These are all topics that are frequently tested, and so this part of our course is directly tailored to the exams that you will be sitting. Additionally, we have our pre-scene analysis. So as part of this, there will be a video that goes through the pre-scene document point by point to discuss the most important aspects that you need to know ahead of your exam. Additionally, there will be a video that will talk about the top 10 most likely unseen issues that are likely to come up in the exam. Plus, we have the strategic analysis video. This will be talking about the key models taken from the CIMA syllabus and then discuss how they apply directly to the case study that you will be looking at. We also have our industry analysis, a comprehensive document that looks at the different aspects of the real-world industry that the case study company operates within. So this will give you everything from an overview of the history of the industry to any issues relating to corporate social responsibility and protecting the environment, analysis of real-world competitors to the case study company, and overall trends in that industry. It will also provide 25 real-world industry issues that can be used as examples in the exam. In addition to this document, there is also an accompanying video. We also provide mock exams, which are based on past case study exams, and also based on the exact case study that you will be tested on. Therefore, they are designed to be as close as we possibly can get them to the actual exam you will be sitting. We also offer marking and feedback. So if you purchase this, you'll get a tutor to go through your exam script, tell you if you would have passed your exam, and also tell you what you could have done better going forward. You'll also get comments on your exam technique, so all the different things to help you get as prepared as possible for sitting the real thing. We also offer question packs, so if you'd like to practice a specific part of the CIMA syllabus, you can look at a question pack directly tailored to that area, so you can get that vital practice in ahead of your exam. We also offer 2 all-day masterclasses, one at the start of the course and one at the end. So the first one will be covering how to plan effectively ahead of your exam. Then the second is a revision masterclass, which will be going through all the material that you've been learning throughout your studies to give you a nice refresher before sitting that exam. So head over to www.astranti.com for more information about all of these case study products. Until then, I'd like to take the chance to wish you all the best of luck for your case study exam.